Good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon from any part of the world. My name is Tony Hernandez Pumarejo, and I'm an advocate for people that are diagnosed with autism and other disabilities around the world. I'm a motivational speaker, presenter, and TV collaborator, and many other things that I do in the community. So it's an honor and a privilege to be with all of you today. In today's video, this is part number 2 of my series of Autism Purpose. As many of you know, in the first part of this series, we talk about the first principle of Autism Purpose, which is awareness. We went in depth as to the reasons why awareness is important for our community, and why is it important in order, as part of the mission that we all have in providing the resources and opportunities to everybody that is diagnosed with autism to achieve a better quality of life. But I also mentioned towards the end of the video that awareness is not enough. So if you have not seen the video in terms of the first principle of awareness, I highly recommend or highly suggest for you to watch that video first before watching this one, so that way you keep track of the principles of Autism Purpose, and you can go with me, so that way you can get a better understanding of what Autism Purpose is and why it is important for our community. So assuming that you watched the first video on autism awareness, then we shall proceed. So as I mentioned, awareness is the first principle of Autism Purpose. The second principle of autism awareness, and I talk a little bit about it in the last video, is called acceptance. Acceptance and understanding. Why is it important? Again, because it is very important to accept people with autism. First, to recognize and accept that your child or your adult child has a condition and that has autism. But not only to accept and recognize that, but more important, it is very important for our society to accept people with autism and other disabilities as integral as people that can make a difference and can make significant contributions in our society. Throughout most of our history, it's been taught that people with autism are incapable of making significant contributions to society, that they're incapable of being able to live a normal life or independent life, regardless of the the functionality level, or I like to focus more the different challenges that people in the spectrum face. Unfortunately, this is an area in which in most cases we're dealing with the most challenges with in today's world. We have with awareness. Most people, most of our society are aware about autism, and they're aware about what autism is. Not everybody, of course, but acceptance. This is an area that's being worked at, most of it right now as we speak. And the reason for it is because there's misconceptions out there that people with autism and other disabilities cannot function in our society. And that's way that's not true. That's completely false. I'm here to tell you, as a person on the spectrum, as an autistic person, I'm here to tell you that each person that is diagnosed with autism, if you're a parent, if you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, if you have a family member that has diagnosed with autism, or your teacher or any person of our society, it's very important to recognize that each person with autism has the capability to contribute to our society, regardless of the functionality level, regardless of the challenges that they face. It's very important to recognize that it's a spectrum, that not everybody's going to have the same. It's going to be the same, of course. We deal with common challenges, but also different challenges. But just because someone is severe does not mean that they cannot contribute. The problem is that we haven't done enough as a society in order towards creating a more effective program or resources to not only help them from childhood, but also transition that child with autism into adulthood. And not only that, as I mentioned in my first the first part of this series, there's people that are diagnosed with autism after age 22, or that they are undiagnosed, and they're diagnosed at different functionality levels. But at the same time, it is important to recognize that we as a society, we need to do much more towards creating more effective programs that work case by case with each person in the autism spectrum and with other disabilities, in order to help them achieve a much more independent life as possible. Just because, for example, a job for a person, let's say with high functioning autism or Asperger's, may be able to do this job, does not be just because a person with Asperger's or high functioning autism does this job that requires that they can handle with more social acceptance than a person that has more challenges with social communication, does not mean that the person with more challenges with social communication cannot do a job. It is very important, and the key towards this is to know what are the strengths and the weaknesses of each person in the autism spectrum. What are the areas of strength specifically, their best abilities, and use those abilities towards working with them in order to help them achieve their goals in life. It is very sad that because I know that and this is my opinion, don't have to agree with it, and a lot of shows on TV and our media, they have been able to raise the issue of autism. We have the Netflix shows like we have the shows like The Good Doctor, Atypical. Right now we're having other shows on Disney Plus, and by going to Atypical and The Good Doctor, they have shown more of the high functioning, or a person that has less challenge in the social area, being part of the spectrum. But there's not a lot of talk about people that are less functioning, or I would like to say have more challenges in social communication, which are nonverbal. And I wish that right now our media, or eventually more TV series or more programs are made to address this, the people that have autism, but they're more severe, nonverbal, more troubles with social communication. But despite those challenges, they can still contribute. It's just that we need to create more effective programs that help the individual that has autism towards taking them toward more independent life as much as possible. Whether it is starting with early intervention in when they are a child, or if they are an adult already and they're diagnosed with autism, work towards effective plans that will help them working with their areas of their best abilities towards helping them achieve a much better life. So overall, it is important for us as a society to accept, accept that, and recognize the condition that your child has. It's very important because a lot of families and a lot of people within society don't accept and don't recognize that a person has autism or any other disability, and that brings very serious consequences, which can do a lot of damage to that child that has autism or that adult child. And I have seen those cases throughout my experience as an advocate, because of the not able to accept that your child has autism. But it's very important to work first, accept the problem, accept the condition. Now, I'm not saying to just accept it and just be done with it and say that it's something that has no problems. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you need to accept the situation right now and be able to recognize, okay, this is what my child has. Let's see what we can do to help him or her achieve a better life. Because as I said again, everyone in the autism spectrum has a purpose, regardless of the challenges that we all face. So overall, we have the first two principles. It's very important to create awareness of autism and the challenges that people with autism and other disabilities face. Principle number two, acceptance. Accept and recognize the condition that your child has, and also understand that. Understand why they do what they do, the way they behave, the way they communicate, where they communicate verbally or non-verbally. And also very important as a society to accept people with autism as capable members of making the difference in our world. But even with acceptance goes more in helping our population with autism, is it still not enough? So in the next video, we're going to go to principle number 3, which is commitment. And the reason why it is crucial to have the commitment in order to help every person that has autism achieve a better quality of life. So any questions, any concerns, any comments you would like to leave, any points that you agree or disagree, please write down a comment below. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. So until next time, this is Tony Hernandez Pumarejo, and thank you so much for being with me here today. You have a wonderful day, or a good afternoon, or a good evening. Bye-bye.